Thank you for joining us this morning as we wake up and review the book, The Screwtape Letters. We're going to be doing something different today, and that is looking at a book and not a movie or doing a theological review. And this is a good one. This falls right in line with the other things that we've been talking about. Last week we did Nefarious. We did the review on the movie Nefarious. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's good, but
really good.
But be prepared because it's violence, rated R, and it really makes you think, though, and that's what's really good about that movie. Then last Thursday we did a review on demon possession. Went through the New Testament, looked at the different places where that's used, and kind of get an idea of the framework. And now we're looking at the Screwtape Letters, which is a basically it's otherwise known as
a sneak peek into the enemy's playbook.
There you go. The Screwtape Letters is a satirical portrayal of the human lives and failings from a viewpoint of demons. These guys are trying to get us. And Screwtape is a highly placed assistant in his words, an assistant to our Father below. He writes a series of letters to his apprentice, who he calls a nephew, which physically wouldn't be a nephew, but kind of like that relationship. His apprentice, Wormwood, a novice demon in charge of securing the damnation of an ordinary young man who they call our patient. So what I'm going to do here is a little bit different. I'm going to bring up, we're going to look at different quotes in this book and then respond to them. We're going to have our interaction here, and then we're going to pull any kind of comments that we have from you guys and bring them in, and we're going to look at them. This is not, since this book is not a given plot where you're going from point A to point B to point C, and you just kind of have this build up and then the climax and the resolution there. It's not that. These are a series of letters that are written. So you do have a progression of what happens in the patient's life and also what happens with Wormwood. I won't give any spoilers. But it's not just a regular like hero's journey that we're working on. These are more philosophical thoughts that really do, like last week's movie, make you think. And so some of these we're going to pull out and get your reaction. I want to do it by thematically. I want to look at how these are reserved, but we're going to start with the warning. C.S. Lewis said there are two equal and opposite errors into which our race can fall about the devils. One is to disbelieve in their existence. The other is to believe and to feel an excessive and unhealthy interest in them. They themselves are equally pleased with both errors and hail a materialist or magician with the same delight. So as we go into that, keep that in mind. And this is something we talked about, I think, last Thursday, the last live stream, that although it's important to know about this whole realm with the evil or unclean spirits and things like this, that they are defeated enemy. And though their attack is real and sometimes rarely physical, well, except for some illnesses and stuff, although their attack is real, it's mostly for the mind. And we have to gird ourselves up with the armor of God and be ready for this. Do you have any comments before we dive into this about any kind of spiritual warfare or anything in regards to what we're talking about?
No, just keep in mind whenever you're diving into this is from the enemy's point of view.
That's a good point.
So take it with a grain of salt.
That's right.
We're going to be very optimistic on their end and pessimistic whenever it comes to our side.
Right. And keep in mind, the enemy is a bunch of liars. So even though Wormwood or Screwtape would say something, actually just Screwtape, don't take it for face value. It's for what it's worth. And this is also from the mind of Lewis, which I think it looks like it's theologically accurate as far as the Bible goes. So let's take a look at our first one here. And this is the battle over the mind. Dun, dun, dun. It's funny how mortals always picture us as putting things into their minds. In reality, our best work is done by keeping things out. Remember, this is a quote from Screwtape to his nephew or his apprentice, Wormwood. It is funny how mortals always picture us as putting things into their minds. In reality, the best work is done by keeping things out. This is, I think this is some pretty good insight. What would be the type of things that he would want to keep out of our minds?
Thinking about stuff too deeply. He's getting Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. So he is the truth. If you pursue the truth, absolutely, you will eventually come to Jesus.
Yeah, and he even mentions this in the letters, that to keep the patient away from thinking logically. Don't get the patient being the human that these demons are trying to tempt. Don't let him get into things logically, because that is what they call the enemy's camp. That's God's camp, is logic and reason and the sciences and observation of nature itself. All these things, it's better to get us distracted by frivolous things, get us involved in things that really don't matter, get us so preoccupied with this. And I'm sure you can think of a couple of lists of your own about what these would be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of creepy looking at reading this book and then looking at your own life and being like, yeah, I could see where this could definitely fall in the same category here.
So let's look at it. Let's look at another one here. Indeed, the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. This is true too, is that if you have this sort of anesthetized view on life, you're just gently not looking at things with a clear picture, just sort of numb to life and not taking a close examination of your life or of other people or other things around you. That's a clear slope, a slippery slope, and slide into hell.
You also get that with just the normalization of sin itself. How we can see in our culture, it was something that it just started off slow and gradual. Actually reminds me of how there's old saying that's kind of dark, but how you boil a frog.
Yeah.
You don't drop him into boiling water. You put him in cold water and then turn on the heat. And slowly as it goes up, he does not notice until he's already dead.
Yeah, this goes hand in hand with the previous one about just being distracted, not thinking about things that are real, and then sliding slow into hell. Not the definite pull down and attack like that. I got a comment here I want to put up.
Hey!
Francis.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. The absence of realizing that the devil was always lingering in the midst and having weak faith in our Lord Jesus Christ is what puts us in an unhealthy state. I guess just sort of coaxing us, just gently, just not being aware of his existence. Especially, I think, in Western society, we're looking at that with not believing in anything on the spiritual realm. Just kind of like pushing that to the side. The enemy says, okay, I can do that. Sort of like that quote that we had originally we started with from Lewis, saying the enemy is happy with either the magician or the extreme materialist that pushes that off to the side and pretends that that's not there.
Well, this quote also highlights another section. The importance of us just letting people know the wages of sin is death. Being away, letting them know what their path ends up leading to. Because it's specifically saying without signs, without warnings, we just slowly move them into that, and we just welcome them into hell. And it's like,
yeah,
one of the reasons why I even started my channel was to be a warning. Just say, hey guys, you're participating in this sin. You might not be aware of the consequences of this sin because you've been lied to, you've been manipulated. Just know where you're going if you're going to be screwing with this. And I don't want you to go there.
No. There is another example, sort of like the frog thing, was what happened with eBay. They had changed, this is years ago, they had changed the color of their logo. Instead of white, I think they went to sort of an off-white or a yellow. And there were some people that said, hey, this isn't right. So they changed it back to white. But then they slowly, incrementally changed it. And then they didn't get any responses until it ended up being the color that they wanted. So we got to keep our eyes open for things like that. How is the enemy attacking us? Be aware of the enemy's attacks. Otherwise, through his own subtlety, you're not going to realize what's happening. Here's another one. It's when they have really learned to love their neighbors as themselves, they will be allowed to love themselves as their neighbors. And what he's doing here is he's commenting on God's plan for us. And God says, Jesus said, love your neighbors as yourself. And and this is a quote from Screwtape saying that when we get to that point, then we can love ourselves as our neighbors. It flips it on its head. And that's there's a lot of places here where you see God's plan through flipping the enemy's plan in here. And we'll see a lot of what the enemy's plan is going forward. So next thing I want to look at is the tyranny of the future. What do I mean by that? How can the future be tyrannical? And let's just pause to think for a minute. In your own life, how does the future, what's going to be coming tomorrow, what's going to be coming later on today, what's going to be coming next week, what bills are due, what if you have something that you have to give a presentation or you have to confront somebody about something that's going on, it's like I can put this off or whatever. All these things that are in the future, how are those situations tyrannical? Gratitude, in this way, gratitude looks to the past and love looks to the present. Fear, avarice, and lust and ambition look ahead. So this is talking about the virtues and the vices. What looks forward to the future or looks back, and what is dealt with in the present. In the present, we have gratitude and love. Gratitude looks to the past and love looks to the present. Fear, avarice, lust, and ambition look ahead. What type of things do we have going on where the enemy can attack us and point at you and say, you idiot, what did you do that for? It's so funny how those thoughts will be there. It's like, you want her, don't you? Yeah, you want her. And the voice of lust is echoing in your ear. Now as human beings, we got enough going for us to help us out in the lust area by itself without the enemy coming and whispering in our ears. But add to that on top of it, he said, you want her, don't you? Look at her, man. Look at her. And then after something happens that shouldn't happen, the enemy says, you idiot, what'd you do that for? That was stupid. And so attacking from both sides. Both sides are done in that regard.
Yeah, there's also another aspect of this, which is he hits on it, the fear, the anticipation, getting someone, they can rob someone of the current pleasure, the enjoyment of family, of just spending a simple time at home with family by making them concerned or fearful of what is to come or what might possibly happen in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Concerns about all these different outcomes that may be an issue. You get obsessed with that and you miss the peace, the enjoyment, the pleasure of just having time with the family.
Right. Yeah, there's so much more that can be done with that. So with the future, we also have the future of all things. Now, here's a question. I'm going to pop this off. I should have done this. I did ask this on a poll a while back of the past, present, and future. We live in time. The spiritual realm is outside of time. The past, present, and future. Which of those three is most like eternity? Most people would say that the future is most like eternity because it goes on and on and on and on and on. And you think like, wow, that goes, but eternity is a different quality of time and not just unending time. Non-linear, you can think about that too. So which of those three, past, present, and future, is most like eternity? And the future of all things is least like eternity. It is the most temporal part of time, for the past is frozen and no longer flows, and the present is all lit up with eternal rays. So the present is most like eternity, which is kind of counter to what most people would think to say that it is. Now, why is that? Why is he mentioned it right here that it's most like eternity because it continually flows, that you do have the constant presence of time during the present. Another one here is sort of on those heels, is there is nothing like suspense and anxiety for barricading the human's mind against the enemy. Now, the enemy here, of course, is God. So this is spoken from a demon's point of view. He, God, wants men to be concerned with what they do. Our business is to keep them thinking about what will happen to them. God is concerned about what we do. Our business is to keep them, human beings, thinking about what will happen to them. The focus is external. Instead of what we do as our decisions that we make, we're more focused on what is going to be externally happening to us and coming down from the outside.
Well, that and the hypotheticals. Not being concerned what is actually happening, the real things that are happening right now, the decisions that you're making right now. It's the hypothetical what ifs that may possibly happen to you, maybe next year, maybe in 5 years. Now, that's not to say don't look at the future, don't plan for the future, right. But that's to not be obsessed with planning for every little thing that could possibly happen and become obsessed with it.
Yeah, obsessed. Like a deer in the headlights, just locked in. You're so frozen with fear because all these things could. When you think about all the ways that we could die in the next 15 minutes, you could be so focused on that you would not be able to live your life.
Yep.
And with the fear or suspicion, what that person next to you was. Can I trust him? What's he going to do? And so locked in that they're not able to continue to live. That'd be another aspect of that. I'm going to put up. Francis said, "I would love it if both you brothers would create a live stream to speak about Christian men's problems." Ooh,
that's a long list.
Well, yeah, we could probably. There's universal problems for both men and women. There is stuff that is maybe more uniquely geared
towards men.
For men. Yeah, that's an idea.
You may want to at least work that into maybe your live stream schedule. Maybe have just a breakdown like that someday.
If you join the Patreon, you can make all sorts of well, we get together and we have powwows and we can do that on, right? But yeah, we'll take that into consideration. That's good. I want to put one up here from Nicodemus. You mean don't worry ourselves with contingency plans and measures which mitigate potential issues?
No. If you're looking at potential issues, no. Just don't focus on them so much that you're missing the present. They're missing what you're doing right now. And don't become too obsessed with them.
Yeah, I think there's a balance here between you still do make plans for this future and you still do.
Yeah, don't go about things blindly.
I mean, I work in a business environment and you do have to make quarterly plans, your projections and everything, what you work for a customer, looking at the market, how you're going to be strategizing with that. But I think the point is here is to be so locked into it that you cannot progress in your thoughts, that you're locked in fear or suspicion or other things that were mentioned. This is, let me see if I can't.
And also just don't get set so hard in what you think's going to happen that whenever God comes in and says, no, this is actually what I want you to do, you don't rebel against that by just impulse.
Yeah, I'm going to put this back up, and then I'm going to go back to the
other one.
Yeah, this says gratitude looks to the past and love to the present. Fear, avarice, and lust and ambition look ahead. So in this regard, there are, when you're looking forward, and it's wise for us to look forward, but that's where fear, in the camp of fear, is mostly in the future, and avarice, lust, ambition, too much in the fear. Remember the parable that Jesus spoke of when he talked about the man who is, I'm going to build my barns, I'm going to do all this and plan for the future. There was nothing really wrong with planning for the future. The problem is the focus was all on himself and not how he's going to, I have all this extra, I'm just going to continue to build and build. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Keep going.
Build and build and do all these things. And so it was just for him that he was accumulating, and not so much God has given you this excess, we could build out. So you're going to put one up?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were doing there. Sorry, technical issues. And then I think a follow-up on what he said, count me in for an unfiltered version. I was talking about, I guess, the thing
about not worrying too much about the future. Again, now I have videos planned out, I have things laid out, but I know that those can change at any given second depending on what the Lord has. And make sure you are, again, not locked in or too fearful of all these possible events that you miss what the Lord is doing right now.
Right. And there's a quote we have later about time being my time. And we'll look at that. And C.S. Lewis touches on that with the Screwtape Letters. Amen. Honestly admire those more able to do that. Give it up to God. Yeah. Even though that's the tough part, right? Because you got all these plans. It's like, oh, I'm working so hard on that. And God says, give it up. And you say, what?
No, lay him down on the metaphorical sacrificial altar and say, here you go.
Right.
This was what I wanted. Not my will be done, but yours be done.
Okay. I'm just going to throw this comment up here just because I think it's a little bit funny. Hello, everyone listening while playing Red Alert 3.
Red Alert 3, really?
That
takes me back.
That's kind of funny.
That's old.
Yeah. Old. Well, you know what? That's right. The balance in life. I mean, are we saying you can play any video game as long as you're listening to the Bible in the background? No.
That was just funny. That was a long time ago.
Unfiltered versions are always the best.
Man's issues.
Oh, okay.
They have a lot of them.
One up. I'm sorry. This is the one that you were talking about.
Yeah, man's issues. I have a lot. Yeah, we both.
Well, we're all in that camp, dude.
We all have our list.
There are some stories that I could tell you about some decisions I really should not have made. That were really some bad decisions, but we're on this journey together. Okay, so back to the Screwtape Letters, and I'm going to pass through these because we went through it. Mere Christianity.
Great book.
And when we're talking about, and this is Mere Christianity, not that in a way the mirror, like I'm looking at a reflection of myself in here, or reflecting back. That's not the type of mirror that we're talking about. We're talking about mirrors, like simply Christianity, the basics of Christianity, the bare bones, and not the problem with sometimes the way that we live our lives and approach Christianity is we put other things on top of it, and then those other things then become our our religion and get in the way of our relationship with Christ, whether it's rituals that we do or ideologies. That's Christianity and maybe a political ideology, Christianity and my latest crusade, whatever it would be, fill in the blank. And so what you do is you pull those things aside and you're looking just at the relationship with God that he has and the sacrificial life that he calls us into. And that relationship then that we see in the Bible, that is the mere Christianity that we're talking about. So where does the enemy come into that? He says, Screwtape Letters says, all extremes except for extreme devotion to the enemy should be encouraged. When was it this book or another one? I forget which that C.S. Lewis was writing. It might have been this one. He was writing it during World War II. Oh, it was this one. He was writing it during World War II, and he was talking about his patients. And Screwtape says, "Are you excited about this latest European war that's going on?" He says, "Who cares? Other than it brings a lot of them into our Father below, into hell." He said, "Don't get too excited about that. This could be working the exact opposite. This is one of the things that could bring clarity to somebody's mind and draw them into God's camp." He said, "Don't do that. Don't get excited about that. Rather, try to get your patient either so totally believing in pacifism or so totally believing in getting involved in the war effort that becomes his theme, that he is then known as the guy who is anti-war or pro-war." And that's what the extreme is that he's talking about here, is that you get him down to thinking about these extremes, about whether he is one side or the other. That's the only extreme that you don't want to have somebody have is extreme devotion to the Lord. And our society, I think, does a pretty good job at, well, I'm in the middle. I'm a moderate. Therefore, I'm kind of the fence sitter. And I know that I'm in the right because I'm in the middle. Well, what happens if the political direction is being dragged too far one direction or the other, and you're in the middle and you're just being dragged along with it? If you're locked in on your principles, it doesn't matter which way this goes. You're just standing there for Christ. The winds may blow, but you're going to be staying in place.
Now, this has got a lot to do. Another aspect of this has a lot to do with identity.
Oh, yeah.
Where you find your identity. Because if you're obsessed, if your identity is with Christianity and something else, then you have an issue. It needs to be Christianity only. And then these are just other things that come along and come and go willy-nilly. Where you find your identity is critical. And that's where we need to rely on the Lord, because he is the only one who actually has a real good perspective on everything.
Yeah. You could also look at another thing that could be an extreme on this would be fitness, to say that you're really and being a good steward of our bodies, I think, is important, because our bodies are a gift from God, making sure that we're healthy, but that can be taken to an extreme where it becomes obsessive so much that it starts to cloud your vision, and that's all that you see without going on. So a good thing then can be turned into something that's bad. The only extreme that would not be bad here is, I'm on fire for the Lord. So let me see a couple of the comments here. I'm going to put them up, and I'm taking these in faith, guys, that you're putting up comments that are going to be good. Mir, I do not know how conceptualize that meaning. I think you mean, I don't know how to conceptualize that meaning. It is similar to common, pure, regular, basic combination of this meanings. I think that maybe this is an earlier comment, and hopefully we've already.
Mere would be pure.
Pure, simple. That it's not clouded by something else, like with the fitness thing and everything else that you would put on top of that. And Nicodemus says, I'm not in the middle. I'm on the outside regarding politics. When it comes to that politics, I'm non-denominational. I like when, okay, so So when Jacob, before his name was turned into Israel in the Old Testament, comes across the angel of the Lord, Jesus, he asked the angel. They're getting ready. There's a fight going to be going on. There's a battle. Yeah. There's armies. There's like, you could tell there's the war is in the air. A fight's going to happen today. It's sort of like when you're back in junior high and there's going to be a fight. Well, this is the situation with him up in the hills, and he comes across this angel, and Jacob asks, and this is kind of a casual thing. It's like he walks into angels all the time. He asks the angel, says, "Well, whose side are you on?" And the angel responds, Jacob says, "Are you on our side or the other guy's side?" And the angel responds, "Neither. I am for the army of the Lord." And God has this sort of outside of the fray type of effect where we really should be on the camp to say, I am not swayed right or left. I am standing on these principles here. And sometimes these principles line with one or the other. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. I am standing firm with where I am here. And Francis says, he's directing it to us and to Nicodemus. He says, I am building a community trying to bring Christian men issues. Many obsess on political correctness that end up lacking in truth. Keep us in touch, man. I want to know what's going on with this here. Sounds like a good thing. Thomas Hall said, "Mere would be that which is all orthodox, small o, Christians would agree on." So there's an old saying, I think, that is really good in regards to, because we'll probably have people with all sorts of denominational backgrounds within the group. I'm not going to say what my particular background is, because I don't want it to be any kind of point of division or anything. But the saying is this: in all things, in essentials, unity; in non-essentials, liberty; and in all things, charity. In other words, those things that are essential to the gospel, those things that are essential to the primary things of Scripture that it talks about, those things we're unified on that. In non-essential things and things that are more peripheral, there's liberty. Just, there's love, and that covers, there's grace. Don't worry about it. But in all things, charity means in all things love. That love covers all, and that should add to the unity of the believers. Okay, so the destiny of desire. This is the next theme I want to go over. There's 5 themes. I think this is number 4. The destiny of desire. What does that mean, and how does that fit into the enemy's plan? Screwtape says, we want cattle who can finally become food. He, God, wants servants who can finally become sons. And you can see, if you understand what the motive is behind your enemy, you can understand a little bit more about his tactics and which way he's going to be coming after you. The idea of becoming food for the enemy, not that there's a cannibalistic thing going on here, but he's talking about our will being consumed, that our will is given more and more over to the enemy. Look at like drug abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who is really, what's the trank, I think, is one of the ones that has come up on some of the streets. It's this drug that is, I think it's a combination of a couple other drugs that are people that are taking it. You shoot up and you are just wiped out. You basically start to rot with this drug. It is awful. And your will is consumed. You don't have much of a desire to get off it, because you want the next hit. You want the next high. You want to keep on going with it. So that's an idea or an example of becoming food. Your will is being consumed by something else. You no longer have that. Where God initially says, I want your will. Subject yourself to me. And we do. And in so doing, we go from servants to sons. We are then a part of the family of God, because our will becomes like his, and we just start doing the things naturally that that he wants. Do you have anything to add to that?
Nope, no, I mean that hits it right on the head as far as that goes. If you watch the short I did yesterday, you would understand about the real purpose of life in Christianity, and it touches on this topic.
Okay.
So,
Little plug for that. Go check out Your Brother in Christ, what his short was. Not that he is short, but he does have a short. Want to make that very clear. Next one is when God, talks of their losing themselves. He means only abandoning the clamor of self-will. Once they have done that, he really gives them back all their personality and boast that when they are willing wholly his, they will be more themselves than ever. Wow. We will be more ourselves than ever when we have given ourselves to God. And that's like the opposite of what the enemy does. He wants to take our will, consume it, eat it, so there's nothing left of us. Where God says, give yourself over to me, and when we are subjected, then we understand. It's like, wow, I am like how God originally designed me to be.
well, that's just it. God designed us to fulfill a certain purpose, and we as humans don't know what that purpose is. And if we rely on ourselves only to define our identity as whatever we want at a given time, we're always going to be chasing that desire that to be fulfilled in that purpose, which is built into us from the beginning. Who we need to rely on that for is the one who created us originally.
Right. Yeah. If it's like read the owner's manual, read the Bible, you'll get an idea of what his design for us is. And it's so much bigger, so much more than we can possibly imagine, even at this point.
Yeah. Why is this going back to the user manual? Why is this vacuum a poor hammer? It's like, you're not using it correctly. That's why you're not going to your actual purpose. You're just taking what someone else did and trying to pass it off as your identity, when that's not what you were built for.
I want to read this again. I think this is so powerful. It's worth taking a second look. When God talks of losing themselves, he means only abandoning the clamor of self-will. Once they have done that, he really gives them back all their personality and boasts when they are wholly his, they will be more themselves than ever. I'm going to put up a couple of comments here based on that. Dom Young Kuchman says, wow, that's true. Yikes. That's another one. Francis Boyle, being short. Oh, this is talking about you, I think. Being short is nature's way of saying everything going to look bigger. So feel that challenge. God likes things in small packages.
In my defense, I am actually taller than he is.
No, he is not. No, he is not.
My chair is just shorter. You give me the short chair.
I mean, I believe in equity, so I'm putting you in the short chair. Then we have Thomas Hall. Much like Adam and Eve had it all. I was going to bring this up, man. Thank you for bringing this up. Had it all already before the fall. Deception broke apart, divided man in the universe. Through Christ, again, we have wholeness. Amen. That is so true. And here's the thing. But the whole garden experience, man, that is so rich. There's so much there to that. If you look at Paralandra, one of C.S. Lewis' other books, you get a kind of a picture of this, is that in the garden, before the temptation, we were innocent. We were good, in right relationship with God, but we were innocent. We were not in glory. We were not perfected because we still have that innocent part untested. But then after we, because of Christ's work on the cross, after we are in heaven at the end, then we're not getting back to the garden experience. That's a done deal. That's over. We're going to get back to glory, which was where we should have been before we took this really long detour through all this mess, sin, death, disease, destruction, evil, all this mess here. Yeah, we have the knowledge of good and evil. We're in the middle of tasting it. That's what the problem is. We took that fruit and it was a bad deal. But we're getting there. So let me do another one here. It's strange how the world rebels against surrendering to God though it brings freedom, but they desire worldly freedom, which leads to slavery. Man, that is yeah.
Nailing it on the head.
Yeah, there's a flip side to it. It's like, it looks so good. Don't you want it? Don't you want it? But these are chains. You really don't want to get it. And anything the enemy tempts you with, it's just like Jesus. When he tempted Jesus in the wilderness, when he tempted Adam and Eve, these are really parallel temptations. You're going to get what he's tempting you with anyway. That's just a matter of time. It's in God's plan. What he's saying is he's shortcutting God. Almost like one of these payment loan places that you can go to. You get your paycheck early. You're going to get it, but it's going to cost you.
Oh, yeah.
And the cost here was our own lives and death, bringing death into the world. And again, not previewing any of these, just bringing them up. So it's saying that God knows us better than we know ourselves. God knows best. Allow him to take the wheel. The river for the Garth Brooks fans. Yes.
Yes.
So Jesus take the wheel, or
yes, Jesus take the wheel.
Cletus take the wheel, take the reel. We also have Thomas Hall said, so it's in sense we are all Job being tested to show what God's there is, and it's not just the testing is like, I got to see if he knows. Well, doesn't God know anyway? Why would God test us if he already knows whether we're, what we're already like? The testing is more like a purification for metal. If you have gold and you want to make it pure, you go through the smelting process where you heat it up enough where it becomes liquid form, and all the gold is heavier. It goes down. The other material, it comes to the surface, slag, dross. You scoop that off the top, and this happens. You go through this process several times, where this purification, then the process then happens. That's more like the picture of the testing than we have individual. Oh, let me see if he can do this one. That's what Satan said for Job. Let me see. Yeah, if he really loves you, everything's going good for him now. But if you test him, he's not going to end up being the way that you expect.
Well, it's also for us as well. The testing, knowing where we've come, what growth we've had, we don't necessarily see what God knows we can handle. In some ways, the testing shows us what we are. When the rubber meets the road, what sort of person we've become. And
sometimes that doesn't end well.
Nope.
Yeah. You have a choice. I know somebody right now who is going through she was in the emergency room just a couple of days, and she was in there yesterday too. Terrible situation going on. I'm not going to get into the details, but and poor girl, man, she's so sweet. And you can tell by looking at her that in the way that she acts, she has gone through some really rough times in life. And there's a maturity and a depth to her character that's there that people who have not gone through rough times don't have. But at the same time, it could go the other way. You could have somebody who's gone through the same situation that she has, then come out bitter, angry, nasty at the world, demanding that, I've gone through all this, I deserve all these other things. No, that's the wrong decision. So we have those decisions going through these hard times. We can go one direction or the other, and we end up with one type of character or the other. And make sure that I'm hitting all these.
That's the one from Sam.
Okay, one from Sam. They want to be their own God, deciding good and evil for themselves. Yes, we have that choice. But if I look back at any time in my life where I've made those decisions, generally, I am really bad at making those decisions for myself. We do have free choice. We do have free will, and we can make all these decisions. And so a lot of these decisions, God says, it's entirely up to you. But when I take the wheel and I say, demanding God, I'm going to do this my own, not good. Doesn't end up well.
No.
Sounds like what the Freemasons do, promise you the world while ringing their own bells if you only just, that's true for so many things in the world. Love must be tested. There must be an alternative, or that can't be love. Yes.
Yeah.
The whole garden experience was that, definitely. God, I mean, we would have been like robots. God could have programmed us that there could be no evil in this world, but there would be no choice either, because we can go either way. We will be getting back to the Screwtape Letters, by the way, just to let you know. There are a few more quotes, but these are good. You guys, this is fantastic conversation. The testing sounds a little bit like the hero's journey, where the main character comes back transformed. Yes, we hope. Or this can be an anti-hero story, right?
Yeah, it counts on what the hero decides in the critical moment.
Yes, that could go either way. And for insanity, yay!
Hey,
that is so true. Kindness and goodness really show through people's faces. I believe you are talking about when someone has had a hard life, whether physical pain and sickness of themselves, or family members close to them that have died, maybe in an early age. And yes, but again, they could end up bitter. They could end up angry at the world. They can end up shaking their fist at God and demanding to be given more than their fair share, because they have gone through all this, and so therefore they deserve more. It could go either way. And the main character comes back more refined. Yes, in the hero's journey. And plug, my first book, my first novel, kind of covers the hero's journey. It does follow that arc. But I'm not going to tell you whether he comes back saved or not, or alive or not. He could die. You never know.
And sometimes it's more interesting that way.
No, you don't want to kill off your main character. Your audience will hate you. Then we have, and we'll do just a couple more before we go to the next quote. And Adam Sheffner, love cannot be proved, but love can be tested.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I guess it depends on what the definition of proved is. Because proved, I think one of the definitions of proved is a kind of testing. That you're proving.
Because it would be proved through the testing, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Either proved true or proved false. So, yes, it can be, obviously. It would have to fulfill the second part of your statement there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe there's another way that you can phrase that so that it brings some clarity to it. But I'm not sure, because one of the definitions of proved would be tested. Okay, so going back to the next one, my time is my own. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is a really good tactic, and unfortunately, I fall for this. This is one of my problems. You must, this is Screwtape again speaking, a demon speaking, right? So let's keep that in context. You must therefore zealously guard in his mind, the human's mind, the curious assumption that my life is my own.
My time is my own.
My time is my own. Sorry. My time is my own. Let him have the feeling that he starts each day as a lawful possessor of 24 hours. Oops. The man can either can neither make nor retain one moment of time. It all comes to him by pure gift. He might as well regard the sun and moon as his chattels. So, in other words, we have, and I'll do this a lot. Talk about planning the future and planning things ahead. I got a to-do list. I'll go through and I'm checking this all out. And I build this like, okay, I got my plans for the day, my plans for the week, what I'm going to be doing. And I got this going. It's coming down. Man, I got to make sure this happens. And somebody comes in and has the audacity and the gall to interrupt me. This is my time.
The dishwasher breaks.
Life happens to you.
Yep.
And whether it's somebody intruding on your time space or somebody or something happening that was unexpected, you can get really, really upset at this. And this is what the enemy is saying here, that to do, to make you think that your time or your space or your area that you carved out, that is yours, And in some way, we do have ownership as a steward of our time. But we cannot make another minute of our life. We cannot make time itself. It comes, it is a gift from God. And if God has at that moment somebody that we need to talk to, somebody that we need to minister to or just listen to, we need to put down what we have there and turn it to God. And I think this is a big part of our laying down our life for Christ. Because this is our moment. This is our schedule. This is our time. And God is saying, no, it's not. I gave it to you, and here's something I'd like you to do. So we got this list, but we hold it lightly, like we were talking about earlier. Do you have anything to add? Because I got some comments here that I want to hit with this.
Nope. I mean, this is an easy trap to fall into. Definitely nowadays.
This is a big one for me. I've got to constantly. One of my kids comes up to me and wants to talk to me, and I'm focused on this thing. It's like, go away, child. No. Take a breath and listen. Adam said, time is my own thing, certainly convicted me. I get upset when I feel the time is being wasted. Well, that's true because we're stewards of it. We want to be able to present it back to God and say, this is what you gave me. Here, I'm giving this back to you. I invested this time, my time and energy. But yeah, we can be a little, I don't know, persnickety with it. Screwtape is the devil. Oh my. Yes. Well, a demon. So yes. Maybe not Satan himself, but he is a lower. So to reiterate the whole idea, if you're joining us late, the whole idea of Screwtape Letters is these are a series of letters from an experienced demon to his apprentice, and he's telling his apprentice, giving him guidelines on how to attack his patient, which is a human being that he's trying to draw into hell. And so we can learn what the enemy's tactics are and how to live for God by saying, don't do what the enemy does and be aware of the enemy's devices. And then Damian Kuchmet said to me, I was have in mind. Now, English is not his first language, so we'll do our best with interpreting this. I was have in mind, like I cannot be measured. Love cannot be measured. That I was have in mind when I was thinking about proving. Oh, okay. So he had in mind. He was thinking about love cannot be measured. And that's what he's talking about. It cannot be proved. It cannot be measured. Testing is some type of proof.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Testing is some type of proof. Yes.
Right.
So, okay. So that's the mindset he had was, and yeah, we cannot measure God's love.
Because it's endless.
Just too much.
It's boundless.
There's no end to it. The unconditional love God has for us, regardless of our own stupidity.
Right.
But at the same time, there are multiple times that God says, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And those are things that we can look at.
Yeah, Jesus said, if you love me, obey my commandments. So there is a conditional thing there involved with it. But that is, there is no end to God's love in that regard. And
nerds.
Yes, our favorite. Okay, so, and no comment from that peanut gallery. I'd like to cover a couple more things, and I didn't know if I would have time for that. So I'm going to throw these out. I believe we do. We have a lot of good conversation here. So I'm going to throw out a couple more quotes from the Screwtape Letters and see how you guys deal with this. Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point, which means the point of highest reality. Do not be deceived, Wormwood. Our cause is never more in danger than when a human no longer desiring but still intending to do our enemy's will, God's will, looks up around upon a universe from which every trace of him seems to have vanished. Every trace. When we do this, we've done this in life. We look around and say, where is God? I feel abandoned. I don't know what God wants me to do. He doesn't seem to be here. He doesn't seem to be answering my prayers. That's at the point that he's talking about right here. I'm going to back up a little bit. Do not be deceived, Wormwood. Our cause is never more in danger when a human, no longer desiring but still intending to do our enemy's will, looks around upon a universe from which every trace of him seems to have vanished, and asks why he has been forsaken and still obeys. So here we're talking about the testing of our faith. And when God doesn't seem to be around, when he's silent, when he doesn't answer, we reviewed the movie The Shift, and there was a moment in there where that was happening, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where he felt like God was not around.
God abandoned him. He still stayed on the path. He still did what was right, but
Yes.
he was very concerned. And this happens in, actually, as a parent, this kind of happens in a way with your children. At least your children feel this way whenever they're learning to walk. And you let go of them for those seconds, and they start taking those steps on their own. They're very concerned. Where's mommy or daddy? Where are my parents? They're no longer holding me. I don't have the comfort of them right here holding my hand anymore. I'm doing this what feels like on my own, even though the parents are right there beside them the entire time. So that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we do have here the testing of our faith during this time. And man, those can be hard, but they can be precious moments too. Because when we do hear his voice finally out of the desert, our ears are so in tune with waiting for him if we decide to continue following him. Just like with the whole thing of bitterness being a possible outcome of hardship in our lives, so can the feeling of abandonment bring either a closeness to him and clarity with him, or the opposite, bitterness, to say, where were you? You don't exist. You're not around. And it could be on either side.
It's the opportunity for massive growth.
Yes. So here I got a one from Francis. He said, when faith is tested, we endure. Our Heavenly Father builds character, and we are more and more strengthened. Rejoice. Yes. Consider pure joy, my brothers, when you are faced with trials of many kinds, because you know that those trials develop perseverance. And perseverance must be complete, the development of your character over time. These are qualities that we bring into the kingdom of heaven at the end. We walk into heaven with our character. We don't have our cars. We don't have our computers. We don't have anything else. We have our record with him and our relationship with him and our character that he has built in our lives. And that's it. That's what lasts. Those things. Set your mind on things above and not on earthly things, on things that will not last. You look at, I had a pastor when I was younger, who said that when we get to heaven, gold, we look at gold. I got a gold ring. You know, gold is what, $2,000 US dollars an ounce right now. Incredibly expensive. Pure. We use it for jewelry. When we get to heaven, it's not used for jewelry. It's used for pavement. It's used to line the streets. Who cares about that stuff? It doesn't last. There's things that are better that last for eternity. We need to focus on those. Okay, another quote. We'll throw out this out here and see how you guys go with this one. In speaking of their patient's wife. Now, this is one of the funniest things. This is probably one of my favorite quotes. Okay, so this is a quote when the patient, that the human that they're trying to get into hell, when he gets married, and Screwtape is infuriated that this happened because, she was not the right kind of woman to put up with. You really messed up, Wormwood, when you let this happen. So, and this is the quote. She's not only a Christian, but such a Christian, a vile, sneaking, simpering, demure, monosyllabic, mouse-like, watery, insignificant, virginal bread and butter miss. The little brute, she makes me vomit. So it is his reaction. All these things, all these characteristics that would be good characteristics, that we would look at as being virtues, the enemy just hates. It's enough to push him over the edge. And I'm sorry, I had to end with that one last quote because it's I find it entertaining. Anything that gets the enemy upset is probably a good thing. So we'll keep that in mind. So we did have a poll that we put out there. And the poll says, have you read C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters?
Wow.
And then we did the live stream. So
50-50.
It's right down the middle.
Right
50-50.
down the middle.
Now,
golly, go read the books.
Go read the books.
Or listen to them. They're in audible form if you want to do that.
They can on Audible. I think they might even be free on Audible. There's more than one YouTube. You're watching YouTube now. So there are YouTube videos out there that are audible versions of somebody just reading the Screwtape Letters, and some really good ones. I think John Cleese may be one of them that's on YouTube. So it's evidently available. You just go and listen. I believe Mere Christianity is also available on YouTube and on. I don't know if they hit the public domain. I think they might have. Maybe that's why they're out there.
So yeah, if you guys haven't listened to it or read it, go listen to it, read it, and leave it. Come back to this video. Put in the comments what your thoughts are on.
Well, we got one right here.
Or your favorite quotes.
Yes. Put in the comments after the live stream what your favorite quotes are. And Adam said, "I love the John Cleese one." Yeah, they're so well done, so well written. And also, I think Andy Sergis, the guy who did Gollum, I think he does a version of the Screwtape Letters. You can imagine, the whole Gollum thing back and forth between him and Schmeagol. If you've seen Lord of the Rings and you got that. So those are also good ones. So we did that. And then I want to close it. Just a final reminder that we do have this PowerPoint as well as others are available for the Commander members on the Patreon page. And if you haven't checked out the Patreon page, please do. This is a way to support this channel. And then coming up, also, please like and subscribe. This it's a big one too. Please.
Forgot about that part.
Forget about that one.
Thing.
Yes. Like, subscribe, share, and it does make a difference because when the YouTube algorithm sees a bunch of likes, they say, "Hey, somebody actually wants to see this. Maybe we should get this out to other people." And so that's what that does. On Thursday, we are doing we're continuing with our reliability of the Bible. Still in the New Testament, talking about who wrote it. Was it corrupted? Do we even know who wrote it? And was it written early or late or any of these questions? So we'll go with it. And is there any kind of evidence one way or another on this? How do we know? And want to thank you guys for your responses on this. This has been great. And I want to look at one last shot at any of the comments here. One last shot, guys. Here you go. Your fame, your shot for fame and glory. You can get in here real quick. See if anybody has something. Last second. Going, gone. Okay. So again, thank you so much for the participation. And if you do have a chance, read this book. I've read it more than once, and every time I read it, it's like something else pops out. That's a keeper.
Give us your favorite quotes in the comment section. Yes. Let us know what you guys thought. And yeah, there's so much more in this book than we were able to cover in this short live stream in comparison to the book.
Yeah. Maybe we should go chapter by chapter. There's an idea.
There's a lot there to go on.
All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.